Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susanna Suisuiki. Coming up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Litara Loma Leilani Yermia Ellen. I am your contestant number 2.
There's a new Queen of the Pacific also.
This is obviously a significant agreement. It doesn't necessarily have the support of Cook Islands people itself.
Cook Islanders in the dark over a deal with China. And could we see the NRL's 20th team? This year's Miss Pacific Islands was crowned over the weekend in Honiara, Solomon Islands. The crowning ceremony and gala, held on Saturday, attracted hundreds of spectators at Friendship Hall, with thousands more tuning in online to see the conclusion of a week-long event. Our reporter Grace Vivaai, who has been following the pageant, joins me. Talofa lava, Grace, who won the Miss Pacific Islands pageant and who were the runners-up?
Talofa lava, Susana. So this year, 8 contestants participated in the Miss Pacific Islands pageant. Miss Samoa Litara Leilani Loma Yeremia Ellen, was crowned Miss Pacific Islands 2025, marking history for Samoa, which has now claimed the title 9 times, followed by the Cook Islands, obviously, who have won the crown 8 times. The first runner-up was Miss Tonga, Rachel Guttenbeil. The second runner-up was Pauliana Felice Vitale, and the third runner-up was Miss Solomon Islands, Alci Polosovai, and the fourth runner-up was Miss Cook Islands, Ngate Pairu Mawate.
Now, there's been some controversy surrounding the pageant. What happened?
Yeah, so after the pageant night, a video circulated on social media featuring judges discussing the results, and one of the judges described the situation as unacceptable, while another showed confusion. And furthermore, a relative from the States shared a video claiming that they spoke with their niece, who was a judge who alleged that another judge manipulated the scores to secure a victory for contestant number 2, otherwise Miss Samoa, and that Miss Tonga actually tied with Miss Samoa. At this stage, though, Susana, these allegations remain unverified as the pageant committee has yet to address them. This has led to conflicting statements. Meanwhile, everyone is returning to their home countries. Hopefully, once the pageant committee resolves the matter, they can then release some sort of statement. Just today, a judge posted a clarification emphasizing that there was no cheating involved and outlining the procedures in the event of a tie between contestants. She's urged people to stop disparaging, the judges since these results are definitive, she says.
And where will next year's pageant be held?
So interestingly enough, next year Fiji has won the bid to host the 2026 Miss Pacific Islands pageant. This year there was no contestant representative from Fiji, so hopefully with Fiji hosting next year they'll have a representative. The last time Fiji entered the pageant was in 2017, and the last time Fiji ever won the crown was in 2016.
Why is Miss Pacific Islands pageant considered to be one of the prestigious events in the region?
Yeah, so originally called the Miss South Pacific pageant, this event was created by the Samoan government and took place annually until it was interrupted by COVID-19. Now in 2014, it was renamed Miss Pacific Islands to better represent its, broader audience in the Pacific region, including Melanesia and Micronesia. The pageant is prestigious as it, recognizes and showcases the qualities, intelligence, and talents of women from the Pacific Islands. This event emphasizes their contributions to the regional issues and their abilities to excel in various fields throughout Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia.
Cook Islanders want to know what's in the deal with China that the nation's Prime Minister is set to sign this week. It comes as New Zealand's Foreign Minister's office says Mark Brown left for Beijing yesterday without properly consulting on the agreement. Caleb Fotheringham has more.
Frustration is building in the island nation as the Prime Minister says the details of the comprehensive strategic partnership with China will be announced after it's signed. Opposition MPs say they have lost all confidence in Mark Brown, with one of them planning to hold a protest against his leadership. The leader of the opposition, Tina Brown, is planning to attend, saying Mr. Brown doesn't understand the word transparent.
He's saying, well, once we sign up, we'll provide copies. Well, what's the point? The agreement has been signed by the government. So what's the point in providing copies if there are anything in the agreement that people don't agree with, what do we do then?
New Zealand feels a similar way. A spokesperson for the Foreign Affairs Minister says Winston Peters has made repeated requests for the government of the Cook Islands to share with them the details of the proposed agreement, which they have not done. Peters' spokesperson says consultation is only meaningful if it happens before an agreement is reached, not after. The statement has been voiced.
We therefore view the Cook Islands as having failed to properly consult New Zealand with respect to any agreements it plans to sign this coming week in China. This lack of consultation is a matter of significant concern to the New Zealand government.
Louisa Castledine, the spokesperson for ocean advocacy group Ocean Ancestors, says it's taken people by surprise.
We are in the dark about what could be signed. And so for us, our concerns is that we are committing ourselves to something that could be very long term. And it's an agreement that we haven't had consensus over.
Limited details that Mr. Brown has shared are that he will be looking for areas of cooperation, including help with a new inter-island vessel to replace the existing ageing ship, and for deep-sea mining research, a controversial subject in the region. Cook Islands news editor Rashneel Kumar says locals are used to deals being forged between New Zealand and Australia, but this is quite different.
This is something new for them, and they demand the agreement. They want to see it. They want it to be consulted first before the Prime Minister signs it off with the Chinese counterpart next week.
China is the Cook Islands' third largest development partner. Mr. Kumar says Mr. Brown sees it as entirely appropriate to sign such a deal.
Obviously, he understands that there is a bit of concern from people, but according to him, he is putting people's and the country's best interest at heart when he's signing such deal.
Meanwhile, Massey University geopolitical expert Anna Poles says there have always been natural tensions between Aotearoa and the Cook Islands over independence, but Mr. Brown's snub is concerning.
This is obviously a significant agreement. It doesn't necessarily have the support of Cook Islands people itself, and it speaks to some friction within the relationship between New Zealand and the Cook Islands.
She says the relationship with Cook Islands is crucial for New Zealand.
And an incredibly important relationship for New Zealand to get right, because it will be seen as a barometer within the region for the rest of New Zealand's relationships, for how New Zealand engages with other Pacific Island Forum country members.
Mark Brown told RNZ Pacific he had reassured New Zealand over and over again there will be no surprises in the deal.
Auckland is the latest city to throw its hat in the ring for a new NRL franchise, proposing the new team to be called Mana Pasifika. The team behind the bid say they hope to create a Pasifika powerhouse representing the vibrant culture, heritage and values of Pasifika and Māori athletes. Bid lead by Paitele Jeff Mulianga Brown said Mana Pasifika would be more than a rugby league team. I caught up with Paitele and began by asking him when the idea to form Mana Pasifika came about.
Oh, look, Mana Pasifika came from a lot of things. First and foremost, just working in the rugby league space for over 14 years. I've been supporting Samoa Rugby League, Tour Samoa, in that space for many, many years, working alongside other communities, Tonga community, Cook Island community, Niue, Tokelau, and just been involved in a lot of community stuff over those 14 years. And it wasn't until about, I think it was 2019, I'd spoken to Todd Greenberg about a Pasifika team. A previous CEO of the NRL. It was probably premature back then, and then we took it off the table, and then just with recent times and the expansion and the talk of, growing the NRL competition, was about a year ago, a conversation with a colleague of mine, very, very well known person in the circles of the NRL, and basically we came up with the idea of putting in a submission, and Pasifika submission, and that was almost a year ago, a year and 2 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long journey, but I suppose the last to 12, 14 months.
Nice.
Really, yeah, we put this together.
So as I understand, Mana Pasifika aims to retain Pasifika talent, but what are the incentives to joining the franchise? How challenging will that be, since there are other established clubs who would offer more lucrative deals?
Yeah, look, we're not comparing ourselves to other franchises, but being that we're will be a club that's owned by Pacific people. We'll have an affinity. We understand the challenges our young people face today, and especially from a Pacific point of view. A lot of us involved have played the game, myself included. Played in the 80s and 90s, the Carlo Park days, and the opportunities back then. And some of the people involved in the organisation are people that have been involved in the game, and some have played in the NRL. They'll be announced in the coming weeks and months. And these are very astute players that have played in various clubs. And so, what we want to provide is obviously a Pasifika touch and feel, and also a blanket as such, that they can open up and be a bit more personable. The exciting thing about it is just bringing the best talent together. With the other clubs, their focus is of players of different origins, where our focus will purely be Pasifika. And obviously with Samoa, Tonga, Cook Islands doing really, really well in the Pacific space at the moment, within the international space, but also in the NRL. I think that sort of combination, and along with Niue and Tukilau and the indigenous, the Māoris, our iwi, I think it's very strong in terms of what we can offer these young players, not just the men but also the women.
Yep.
We're looking to enter a mana team into the women's space as well. So that's our offering. And as I said to you, a lot of the off the field stuff is important for us. Being a player, we produce so much good stuff on the field, but it's also the sort of the other elements of the game, which is off the field, that's important. And that's something that we thrive in, bettering not just the way you play the game, but it's the way that you contribute to the community, what you're doing at home, how you look after yourself, your recovery, and just contributing to the family. A lot of our players tend to forget that we have a responsibility at home.
And just to add on to your point about, seeing more Pasifika people coming into NRL, we've also seen that PNG will also come into the franchise in 2028. Why do you think Pacific players are pulled towards rugby league? What makes it so attractive for them?
Look, I think the beauty of it, a lot of us have played both codes. I played Prem Rugby and Prem League in the 80s, and one of the attractive things I found with rugby league is the simplicity. It's a tough game, but it's a game that, if you want to pass the ball and throw it around, you can. But also holding possession is really, it's really, really awesome about rugby league. If you can hold the ball for 6 sets and obviously get repeat sets, it's a great game. But I truly believe the physical side, it is physical. I'm not saying it's more physical than the other codes, but rugby league, you've got to know how to tackle, and obviously it's quite a physical game. It's why there's such a high level of injuries and so forth in the game. It's very, very physical, and I think that's one of the elements that a lot of young people love about the game.
Yeah. What happens now? When do you expect to hear back from the NRL Commission?
Well, we're working with one of our key consultants, who's a former COO of the NRL. We're working with them closely, and also just working with our unions as well. We're working closely with our unions like Rugby League Samoa, with Cook Island Rugby League, with Tonga and Niue Rugby League, and Tukilau Rugby League, but also with New Zealand Māori and also the some of the iwis that we'll be working with. We don't have a timeline as yet, but we know that the NRL are in the middle of a process at the moment, so we've sort of given ourselves about 5 months. We've given ourselves 5 months to sort of to be able to negotiate with the NRL once they've made sort of a better understanding of where they're at, because they're currently in negotiations at the moment. There are other bids to consider, and we wish them all the best. Our focus right now is just our bid. That's Pacific is in a really good position at the moment, only based on what's happened in the last 10 years. We're selling out crowds. Pacifica tournaments are selling out stadiums.
Yeah.
The fan base is huge. We don't rely on the other nations like New Zealand and Australia to help us. Our people see this game as a way to celebrate culture, but more importantly, their nations. And that's something that's important to us as a Pasifika organisation. So, yeah, it really is in the hands of the NRL, and a lot of our work now is to get out there and work with our communities and to show the NRL that this is viable.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā soifua.